Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Nick and I decided we're going to try and record twice a week, whenever possible. And our second recording of the week will be game predictions. So, before we get started into that, I feel like we should probably recap the Thursday game, Jets at Cleveland. And Cleveland finally won a game.
Yeah,
It's
they
been
did.
635 days, I believe, since their last win. So, Nick, what did you see?
I think Baker Mayfield is the savior of Cleveland. He is their LeBron now. Granted, he didn't win them a championship, but I guess for the Browns, one win is equivalent to that. But he looked awesome. I think he had more yards on his first throw than Tyrod had in the entire game.
Yeah.
So you definitely saw a bit of a different Cleveland team. You could just see the motivation, the way they were playing. The stadium was getting into it. I had no doubts when he came in the game that they weren't going to win that game. You just knew.
Well, not just him. That entire offense looked much more efficient with him
Yeah,
under center.
you saw
Besides,
Jarvis.
really didn't start racking up yards until Mayfield came in.
Yeah, you saw him getting Njoku involved. Jarvis Landry had a few awesome catches. So it was just a big motivational boost. Everyone knew it was coming within the next few weeks. The injury of Tyrod just sped up the process. But I think this is more of the team that people were expecting from Cleveland this year. You know?
Mm-hmm. Essentially, they got a quarterback and a kicker in the same week.
Yeah.
Now, let me just ask you, because the Mayfield-Darnold debate will be going on for years to come. The Jets led this game by 14 when Baker came in, pretty much with a minute to go in the first half. So they really blew it. Do you think Baker is head and shoulders better than Sam Darnold, or do you think it was just a conservative approach by the Jets gone wrong?
It's a mix of the conservative approach and Baker definitely has more skill around him. I feel
Mm-hmm.
the Jets O line didn't look too hot last night. The Browns didn't really in the first half, but then it kind of picked up when Baker got in there. But I
Mm-hmm.
think this game, both quarterbacks go on to have decent careers. This game's going to be looked upon a lot. First time they played against each other, and it's always
Mm-hmm.
going to say in the record books and in the eyes of fans that Baker won the first one. So I think that was a really important game, and
Agreed.
not great for Darnold.
So I think it boosts all the talent around that roster in regards to fantasy. You saw it firsthand with Carlos Hyde, but Mayfield was throwing lasers in the second half, and there were a couple drops in there just going from one quarterback to the next, but I think it helps Callaway, it helps Njoku making the switch. If the offense runs anything like it did in the second half the rest of the way, I think it benefits all of Cleveland's skill players.
Hmm.
For the Jets, Robbie Anderson had a fumble, 2 catches. It was pretty irrelevant. Really, the only one to do anything besides the running backs was Quincy Enunwa, 4 catches, 57 yards. Are you nervous with this offense going forward?
Yeah, I never really predicted too many big things from them. I do think Quincy's definitely the one guy. I think this was Robbie's second fumble in 2 weeks, I believe, and he hasn't really had anything besides a big catch in week one. But that was against the Lions, and that game didn't really prove much.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think if there's anyone to own, it's definitely Quincy. Once he gets the ball in his hands, he's a pretty hard dude to bring down. So I
Mm-hmm.
think he's definitely worth roster consideration. But at this
Good
point,
hands, strong route runner, and the best receiver on that team at
yeah,
this
but
point.
there's no other wide receiver or tight end who really stands out. Isaiah Crowell did
Mm-hmm.
have 2 touchdowns though, which is pretty big.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're gonna get into the predictions for Week 3 schedule. Nick, would you like to tell them about the bet we're going to have in place?
Yes, I will. So me and Gerard will predict each game of every week, similar to how NFL Network does it, and we'll tally up all the games. And at the end of the year, the loser will have to wear a jersey of the winner's team for every podcast next year. But the catch is it'll be someone not good. So, for example, Gerard wins, I'll wear an Eric Flowers jersey or someone like that, and if I win, he'll have to wear like a Trent Richardson jersey to every podcast. So we'll see.
It should be fun. Maybe not Flowers. Maybe I'll, go not necessarily old school, but make you go get a Ryan Nassib jersey or something.
Yeah, someone creative.
We'll see. Kicker jersey.
Yeah.
We'll have some fun with it. So the first game on the slate is the Saints at Atlanta. And where do you stand on this one?
I'm taking Atlanta. I think they're the better team. Saints looked awful week 1 against the Bucs, letting up almost 50 points. Week 2, they almost just lost to Cleveland, and it wasn't the Cleveland we saw last night. It was a much worse Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, close game against the defending Super Bowl champs, and they just played fairly well against Carolina. So I'm going with Atlanta. I think they have a better overall team, even without Deion Jones and Keanu O'Neal.
I will tentatively also go with Atlanta. Their defense is a bit banged up. I'm excited to see Lattimore shadow Julio.
Yeah.
Julio's a little bit banged up, so that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. But I agree. Atlanta's the better team at home. Also, no Devontae Freeman, worth mentioning. But just the Saints have been getting exposed the first few weeks of the season, and Atlanta just looks like the better team. So I'm going to agree with you on that game. Next, we have San Fran at Kansas City. And, I think Mahomes' success is sustainable this year. I just want to remind people, 2 years ago, everyone was raving about Dak Prescott being the next big thing. And then that line got worse. He lost a bunch of his weapons in Des Bryant and Jason Witten, and Dak looks like an average quarterback now. So while I think Mahomes' success is sustainable this year and maybe for the next couple, I think it's too early to declare him the next Aaron Rodgers or anything. People are getting a little ridiculous with these declarations.
Yeah.
It's only been 2 weeks, 3 starts for the kid. Give it a couple years. But I think it is sustainable, and Garoppolo may still be without Marquise Goodwin. Kansas City's home and just really seems to be firing on all cylinders. So I'm going to say Kansas City, and I don't think this game will be that close.
Yeah. I don't think there's no disagreement here. I'm going with Kansas City too. Mahomes looks awesome, but this happens every year. Dak, Deshaun Watson last year. There's always a guy who, even you go back, Kaepernick, Tebow, always in there. Always, and while I think he's better than them, but I don't know. There's always a guy who stands out a couple games and gets overhyped. But I think he looks good.
Even Sanchez, his first few years on the Jets, they had a decent defense, some playoff runs. It seemed to be the next big thing, and then in comes the butt fumble.
Yeah. The key is consistency with quarterbacks. I mean, even Nick Foles has his off games, then he goes and throws for 350 yards against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. So it depends. But yeah.
I do want to just say, I think Breida will have a huge game and Morris will not, because I think Kansas City gets up big and I think San Fran abandons the run.
Okay.
Breida is a much better pass catcher. So he had a big game last week. I think he has another big game this week. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of their running backs in San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they lost McKinnon. That's not on them. But I do think Breida ends up being a decent play this week because Kansas City's defense isn't anything special.
It's looked awful in the last 2 weeks.
49ers will have to keep pace. All right, so far we're in agreement across the board. Next is Oakland at Miami. and I am going to say Miami wins this one. Oakland's traveling across the country, off to a rough start. Miami, surprisingly, is 2-0, and I know they versed the Jets and Tennessee in that game with the Lightning and Thunder, the massive delays, but surprisingly, I think that defense is a little better than people give them credit for. Kenyon Drake has looked efficient, and they've just been finding ways to get it done. So I'm going to say Miami wins this game at home.
All right, we have our first disagreement. I'm going to go with Oakland. Yeah, Miami's 2-0, but haven't really proved me too much. The Jets and Tennessee aren't the greatest of teams. I think the Raiders looked awful week 1, but last week they almost went into Denver and won, and that's a pretty good defense. So I think the Raiders win just because if you look at Miami and you look at them compared to other 2-0 teams, you can't really name any studs on their team. Can you name a stud on Miami right now? Like, not just a good player, like a stud.
I mean, to that same point, who on Oakland other than maybe Amari Cooper and an aging Marshawn Lynch would you say is a stud at this point in their careers? I prefer Kenyon Drake over Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, I mean the Raiders have a decent line too, though. So that's one.
The connection is getting a bit choppy. I'm just going to move my laptop a little. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you're a bit blurry, but hopefully that'll pass.
All right.
Anyway, next is Buffalo at Minnesota. I'm not projecting an upset here, and I don't think you are.
Yeah, we don't really have to waste too much time on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the line's minus 17 points or something like that, and I've never seen a line that big in football. So.
Mm-hmm. Dalvin Cook is not playing, though. Just something worth mentioning. And if you have Latavius Murray, it's a great game for Minnesota. So,
yep.
Feel free to play him depending on your other options, but I wouldn't hesitate much on that.
Start that whole Minnesota offense, honestly.
Yep. All right, so we'll breeze through that one. Next are your Colts at Philly.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I'm not ready to say the Colts are going to win yet, just because Carson Wentz is back, MVP, defending Super Bowl champions in Philadelphia. So I think we'll play good. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Colts, but I'm not projecting a win for us.
And I'm in agreement with that. I think Philly's going to win. They're probably going to start Corey Clement because Ajayi and Sproles have both been ruled out. So if you have Clement and a running back need play him, check your waiver wire because there's a chance he's unowned or got dropped. I know I actually dropped him last week and am now regretting that in one league. So just see if he's available, and if he is, go grab him and start him because the Colts defense, they played well last week, but I think that's more of an outlier than the norm, especially against the reigning Super Bowl champs.
Yep.
And Aguilar should have a big game. He should be seeing all the targets he could handle from Carson Wentz. But yeah, we agree there. Next, Green Bay at Washington. Where do you stand?
I'm going with Green Bay. I think it'll be not a shootout, but more on the high scoring side. And I'm taking the better quarterback by far. So, yeah.
I will actually agree again with you. Aaron Rodgers, prove me wrong. I know he's banged up. I know he thinks it might get worse over time, and it might. But the man wins football games. As long as he's out there, I'm not predicting a loss for Green Bay unless they play maybe the Rams or, another contender with a better defense. but not to Washington. I think Green Bay wins. I think it's going to be not completely one-sided, but I could see them winning by over a touchdown. 8 or 9 points, maybe. Aaron Jones is returning, though. What do you think is going to happen with that workload split?
I'm not sure if he'll get most of the touches week one. His first week back. I think it'll still be probably Jamal Williams for the most part. But in the next couple weeks, I could see that starting to shift more the other way.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. They trust Williams in pass protection. Jones probably has to get up to speed, so it might be a few weeks before any changing the guard, if that happens at all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we agree there again. So far, only Oakland and Miami, but this next one's a close game. Cincinnati at Carolina. So, who do you favor?
This is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with Carolina. I think they played well against Dallas week one, and that was a good defense they were going against. Last week, they didn't look great, but Cam looked good. But I think Atlanta was just a better team. And I just don't know if I could see Cincinnati going 3-0. So that's why I'm going with Carolina.
Okay. Fair points. I will lean the other way, though, with this one. The emergence of Tyler Boyd really benefits that offense. Dalton was raving about him the last couple days. And, taking a year 3 leap forward benefits, Tyler Eifert, A.J. Green, and the offense as a whole. I don't think the drop-off from Mixon to Giovanni Bernard is that steep.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati's playing some of the best football they've played in a long time. So I think they come into this game looking to make a statement and end up winning in a close game. Maybe 24-22. A close game, but I think they get the better of Carolina.
All right, fair enough. And as I check my Twitter feed, get an update. Jack Doyle's out this week, so I'm projecting
Really?
a big game for Eric Ebron. I know we already touched that game, but just to go back on that, I would start Eric Ebron if you have him.
Okay, and if you have Doyle, hopefully you have another tight end or someone available on the wire, potentially Ebron. But good note. Next is Tennessee at Jacksonville, and Duval is going to win this game.
Yeah, they're going to win by a lot. I think they should at least. I know last year Tennessee actually swept Jacksonville somehow, but
Jacksonville got exposed last year to mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson played well against them. Mariota played well against them. Mariota has nerve damage or an active nerve right now in his arm. So we'll see if he plays. If it's Blaine Gabbert, it's not close. If it's Mariota, I still don't think it's close. But there's potential Tennessee can put up a good fight if Marcus Mariota plays. But Jacksonville's just a better team.
They're just a much better team.
Top defense in the league. Blake Bortles is playing very well. And I know he's still listed as questionable, but I firmly believe Leonard Fournette's going to play this week.
Yeah. Yeah, he should. He was close last week.
Any prediction with the Titans' backfield? Derrick Henry still concerns me at this point.
And this isn't the week for him to come back, I don't think. I think if any of them were to do anything, it'd probably be Deion Lewis, maybe a few dump-offs or something, but I don't really see too big of a game from either of them, especially Henry, just because of that defensive front.
And now that many people seem to think Keelan Cole is the top receiver in Jacksonville, and I tend to agree with that, I could see D.D. Westbrook having a big game and just completely
changing that perspective.
throwing his name back in the ring as the top receiver on that team again. Just to keep the debate going. I could see Westbrook having a bigger game than Cole this week.
I can see it. Didi's got big play written all over him.
He does.
Free for a 50-yarder or something.
Mm-hmm. Especially if he gets in the end zone with it, which, I mean, we'll see what happens on Sunday. But we're in agreement there as well for the game. Next is Denver at Baltimore. Where are you going?
This is another tough one. Where's the game? That's at Baltimore?
At Baltimore.
I'm going to go with the Ravens. They didn't look great last week against the Bengals, but I still think they have a better offense, and their defense is still very good. I'm going to take Flacco over Keenum, and in these close games, I usually go to the quarterback debate, and that's what I'm going to go with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll agree with Baltimore. I think that will be a close game as well. But Flacco, I agree. I think is a better quarterback than Case Keenum. It's the home team. Denver's got good corners, but on the road against a Baltimore team that just lost to Cincinnati in a game that was winnable, I think they make a point to win at home this week. And I think Baltimore's got the better defense as a whole. I know Denver's got good corners, but looking at the line, I think what Cincinnati did in the first half will not be a regular occurrence against Baltimore. They looked much better the second half last week, and I think that's closer to the Baltimore D we can expect this week.
Yeah, it should be.
All right, next are the Giants at Houston, and it's a battle of the 0-2 teams. Both teams have disappointed thus far. I know Vernon's not playing again for us.
Loss.
And I really want to go with the Giants here. Being a bit of a homer there, I'm going to go with the Giants, but I don't feel great about this. I think both teams are just bordering on desperation mode at this point. And it's more will and want than any rhyme or reason. Dallas got to Eli with ease last week, and Houston's got a good pass rush, so it could be much the same. But I'm going with the G-Men, and again, that's more of a gut call and fandom showing itself here.
Yeah, I'm not going with the G-Men.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like the G-Men to win just because I want Houston to lose. But then I just start thinking about Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless. It's not a great matchup for Eric Flowers and company.
He's going to be on skates all game, and I'm dreading it.
Yeah, but, I mean, who knows? That defense lost to Blaine Gabbert last week, and I'd take Eli over Blaine Gabbert. But you just gotta see how the offense holds up. While Deshaun Watson hasn't been doing what he did last year, I still don't think the offense looks awful. I think it definitely looks better than the Giants. I think it's just average at this point. But yeah, I'm going to go with Houston in this game.
I do want to mention DeAndre Hopkins has a thumb, an ankle, and a hamstring injury, but he has practiced in limited fashion throughout the week. Any concern he misses this game?
Jeez, 3 injuries. He's looking like the dude from SpongeBob in the chocolate episode. He walks out of the house all bandaged up. I mean, usually if they play limited, they're good to go. And he's a tough dude, so I think he'll play.
I agree. And if they were off to a 2-0 start and looked at this matchup, maybe they give him a week to rest and get right. But
they need their studs.
Yeah, they need all hands on deck this week. Next is a battle for LA, the Chargers at the Rams. and I'll let you start off here.
Yeah, I don't think this game will be a blowout like the Rams' previous two. I think the Chargers have one of the better rosters in the league. For some reason, the talent just hasn't come together. I think they're still meshing, I guess. I think they're still without Joey Bosa this week, which is unfortunate. But I think the Rams will win by a touchdown around there, just because they're the best team in the NFL. They don't have a weakness anywhere.
Agreed. They were my Super Bowl favorites before the preseason, and here we are 2.5 weeks in, and I still believe they're the Super Bowl favorites. Mm-hmm. So the Rams will win. Dominic's going to be mad at us for saying this, but he has to know. He has to know. Yeah. So next, Chicago at Arizona, and David Johnson hasn't done much the first 2 weeks of the season, and I don't see him doing much against Chicago's D-line. Larry Fitzgerald's a little banged up. I know Arizona's saying they plan to get DJ in space and also scale back their playbook. Okay. But that whole team just looks to be in disarray, and I think Chicago's defense is going to feast yet again. They're the real deal. They were low-key a top 5 defense last year. Yeah. Got better in the offseason. Added Khalil Mack in the preseason. Chicago, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think Arizona won't be able to stop them on offense, and that offense is still yet to click. You know, Robinson had a good week 2, but Trubisky hasn't done anything special, and I think with all the weapons around him, if the offense gets right throughout the season, that could be a scary team.
Yeah, I'm going with the Bears too. Not really too much of a surprise. I think David Johnson will do better than he did last week, but definitely not enough to make this game that close. I think just the Bears defense looks awesome right now, and I guess the Cardinals offense looks the exact opposite of that. So it's not really an ideal matchup for them. And I think they will continue their losing streak and be 0-3.
All right, fair enough. We're in agreement there. So far, we disagree on 3 games, and we have 3 games to go. And had this game been 2 years ago, I feel like football fans would have been hyped about it. I'm looking at this game and thinking it's going to be disappointing across the board. Dallas at Seattle.
Yeah.
It just doesn't excite me.
Yeah. 2 years ago, you're so right about that. It'd definitely be a different story, but not many stats in this game.
First year in the league, Russell Wilson with an elite defense, but not now.
Nope, definitely not.
I'm gonna say Dallas, who I believe they currently lead the league in sacks, will continue to lead the league in sacks after this game. Seattle's line was without 2 tackles last week. I'm not sure if they're going to play this week. But they just can't protect Russell Wilson. It's like watching a more mobile Eli Manning just get hit immediately. So I think Dallas will get to Seattle at will. I don't really see either team moving the ball effectively. I'm going to say Dallas wins, as much as I don't want to say that. I think they have the more efficient defense, and neither offense looks that good, but they at least have Zeke. Yeah. So I'm going with Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going with Dallas too. We saw last week what happens when Dallas's D-line goes against an abysmal offensive line, and now they're maybe going against the one offensive line in the league worse than the Giants. So I just don't see the Seahawks being able to get anything together. Maybe a touchdown just because of Russell Wilson's ability. And then you hit it on the hammer on the other side. And Dallas has Zeke, so they have the playmaker that Seattle doesn't, and I think he'll be enough just to get them the win.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if Bob Wagner's going to play this game?
Bobby Wagner, I'm not sure why he was injured.
He was banged up a bit last week. I'll find out about that for us.
Yeah.
And Doug Baldwin, he's doubtful. I don't think there's a chance he suits up this week. I think he's going to miss a couple more weeks. I wouldn't go dropping Doug Baldwin. You know, if he's on your roster, you probably drafted him in the fourth round, maybe the fifth round if he fell. Yeah. All right, so Bobby Wagner's on track to return this week.
Yeah.
So with a groin injury, but he should play. So there you go if you're in an IDP league. Next is New England at Detroit. Detroit looks terrible through 2 games. That defense can't stop anything. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to be a shootout because the only chance Dallas has is to sling the ball to their wide receivers, Galladay, Jones, and Golden Tate. But New England's going to win pretty handily, especially after losing to Jacksonville last week.
Yeah.
Just Detroit won't be able to stop them. But it will be fun to see Belichick go against Matt Patricia.
Yep. Matt Patricia's come back to New England. I think I said on the last podcast, I don't think New England's lost back-to-back games in like 4 years or something like that. So I would pick against whoever they were playing, unless maybe the Rams. That might be the only team I wouldn't. I don't think it'll be close. I think they're pissed off about last week. I think just the better team wins it here.
Which running back do you favor for New England in this game?
Is Rex Burkhead back yet? Did he play last week?
Yeah, he played last week, but
he was a little. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Sony Michel. I think he had a good week. Well, his week 1, I think he played awesome, and I don't know. I guess you ride the hot hand, stay with the guy. So I'm gonna go with him.
Sort of like Denver's approach with Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, just hot hand.
Yeah. I guess something like that.
Okay. Well, I agree. I think Sony Michel this week because they drafted the rookie for a reason. They want to get him the ball. They want to see what he can do, and I don't think a realistic chance that Detroit wins this game. So I think they'll, manufacture at least a dozen touches for the rookie.
Yeah, they should. Belichick never really drafts skilled players that high, He drafts linemen there and makes his running backs undrafted guys. So when he finally goes out and drafts one in the first round, you'd expect that guy to be a stud. So
big things. Yep. All right, the last game is Pittsburgh at Tampa, and I'll let you get started.
Yeah, this is probably the most exciting game of the week.
Monday night.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this. I think it's going to be 45-40 or something like that. And I'm still deciding, but I think where's the game being played?
At Tampa.
At Tampa. It's a tough one.
Just worth mentioning, the Detroit-New England game is actually at Detroit, too.
Okay. It doesn't really change much,
so,
but okay.
Yeah, it doesn't change the outcome. They just embarrassed at home.
I'm going to support my city. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's looked like the man, or Ryan McGregor, whatever you want to call him. And I'm thinking, and I hope it lasts another week. The Steelers have looked awful, and I think it continues. And at that point, you got to start wondering, you're a Steelers fan, like, do you turn to mock drafts at this point, or what happens?
So I agree it's going to be a high-scoring game. I agree it's going to be a fun game. I think Fitzpatrick will play well, and that will continue, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh.
All right.
Because neither defense impresses. I think Pittsburgh has underwhelmed, and Tampa's overachieved thus far.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh also played Kansas City, so their poor defensive showing is a little inflated because of that matchup. But I think both defenses sort of go a little closer to what we can expect to them. I think Tampa will take a step back, Pittsburgh will take a step forward, and then Tampa just can't run the ball effectively at all, whereas Pittsburgh will be able to move the ball through James Conner.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. I think it's going to be a shootout, but just because Pittsburgh, I think, will be able to move the ball with their running game, and I don't think Tampa will. They'll be a little more one-dimensional. I'm going to say Pittsburgh wins this game. Plus, I just think they're the better team.
Okay.
So, despite their rocky start and all the controversy surrounding the team, I don't think they get their internal issues right this week, but I do think they get the win. So,
fair enough.
All right, so we are in disagreement for 4 games. Oakland at Miami, Cincinnati at Carolina, the Giants at Houston, Pittsburgh at Tampa. You have the home team for 3 of those 4, and we will keep that tally going forward.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to touch on before we close up shop this week?
Any big names this week to watch for? Anything like that?
Kenyon Drake at Oakland.
Kenyon Drake? Maybe.
Things?
I could see it. Oakland's D hasn't looked too hot this year.
Nope.
Yeah, and I guess just anyone on Minnesota stick with.
Let me ask you, how many touchdowns does Patrick Mahomes have this week?
Oh, jeez. Who do they play again? They play the 49ers, right?
San Fran.
I think he'll come back down to earth a little bit more this week. San Fran has a decent defense. But I'll say 2 to 3.
2 to 3. Okay.
3.
I'll say 3.
Yeah.
I think 3 with the weapons he has. I think he still has a good game. So
yeah.
I'll say 3.
You think he throws an interception
What
this
do you
week?
expect from Christian McCaffrey this week against the Bengals?
Not much.
Since you have Carolina winning.
Yeah, and I don't see much in the run game, but I see him having a few chunk plays on a couple screens, or maybe if they line him out wide in the receiving game. So I think he'll have a pretty good game. I still think he'll have around 70 to 80 receiving yards, but not many coming on the ground.
Okay. And just because they play in another game we disagree on, who do you think has the bigger performance, Odell Beckham or DeAndre Hopkins? Or do you see maybe someone else stepping up, like Will Fuller or Sterling Shepard? Which receiver in this game do you think is going to have the biggest performance?
I'm going to go with Odell. He didn't do too much last week. And the Texans don't really have an elite corner that'll shadow him. While as on the other side, you have Jenkins and you have Collins helping out too. So I'm gonna go with Odell doing better this week. Also because DeAndre has been dealing with a few different injuries.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think it'll be Odell. It depends how much time Eli has to connect with him, but like you said, Hopkins is going to have a solid matchup, in Jenkins and Collins, whereas Odell will potentially just keep getting open in space. It's going to depend on
the line,
if Eli has time to get him the ball. But
I mean, as we said in the last one, a lot of that stuff was mental last week. It wasn't that they were getting physically overmatched. It was just stunts and stuff, and the Texans don't run as many stunts as Dallas does. So you'll just have to see what happens.
All right. Anything else today?
Nah, I think we're good. Nice and quick.
Perfect. Well, best of luck with your lineups. And week 3. Go Giants.
Go Colts.
And Nick, I hope your team loses.
Thanks. Peace.
Peace.